Hare Krishna, everyone. Today, the shloka for today's class is from Canto 4, Chapter 12, verse number 10. I'll share my screen. Yes. Atyayatha yajnesham kratubhirguri dakshinai dravya kriya devatanam karma phala pradam atyayajat yagyesham क्रतुभिर्भुरि दक्षिणं द्रव्या क्रिया देवतानां कर्म फलप्रदम् अध्यायचत यज्ञेषां क्रतुभिर्भुरि दक्षिणे द्रव्य क्रिया देवतानां कर्म फलप्रदम्. Anyone would like to recite the verse?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam.
Yata ajata yagnasham krutivid guri dakshinoi dhabba kriya devatanam karma phalam pradam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I'm also trying to read out. Athayayata yagyesham pratubhirbhurida dakshino jabdo kriya devotanam karma phala pradam. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Athayayata yagyesham krutubhirburidokshinayi drabbo kriya devatanam karma phala pradam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
I am trying also, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yatha jajata jagnesham kartubhiri bhuri dokshinai dravyo kriya devotanam karma phala pradam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. We'll go with the word-to-word translation first. Atha, thereafter. Ayajata, he worshipped. Yagnashyam, the master of sacrifices. Kratubhi, by sacrificial ceremonies. Bhuri, great. Dakshine, by charities. Drivya kriya devatanam, of sacrifices including various paraphernalia, activities and demigods. Karma, the objective. Karma phala, the result of activities. Pradam, who awards. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. As long as he remained at home, Dhruva Maharaj performed many great ceremonial sacrifices in order to please the enjoyer of all sacrifices, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prescribed ceremonial sacrifices are especially meant to please Lord Vishnu, who is the objective of all such sacrifices and who awards the resultant benedictions. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In Bhagavad Gita 3.9, it is said, Yajnanarthat karmano nyatra lokayam karma bandhana. One should act or work only in order to please the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, one becomes entangled in the resultant reactions. According to the 4 divisions of Varna and Ashrama, Kshatriya and Vaishya are especially advised to perform great ceremonial sacrifices and to distribute their accumulated money very liberally. Dhruv Maharaj, as a king and ideal Kshatriya, performed many such sacrifices, idly very liberally in charity. Kshatriya and Vaishya are supposed to earn their money and accumulate great riches. Sometimes they do it by acting sinfully. Kshatriyas are meant to rule over a country. Dhruv Maharaj, for example, in the course of ruling, had to fight and kill many yakshas. Such action is necessary for Kshatriya. A Kshatriya should not be coward and he should not be non-violent. To rule over the country, he has to act violently. Kshatriya and Vaishya are therefore especially advised to give in charity at least 50% of their accumulated wealth. In Bhagavad Gita, it is recommended that even though one enters the renounced order of life, he still cannot give up the performance of yajna, dana, and tapasya. They are never to be given up. Tapasya is meant for the renounced order of life. Those who are retired from worldly activities should perform tapasya, penances, and austerities. Those who are in the material world, the Kshatriya and Vaishya, must give charity. Brahmacharis, in the beginning of their lives, should perform different kinds of yajnas. Dhruv Maharaj is, as an ideal king, practically emptied his treasury by giving charity. A king is not meant simply to realize taxes from the citizen and accumulate wealth to spend in sense gratification. World monarchy has failed ever since kings began to satisfy their personal senses with the taxes accumulated from the citizen. Of course, whether the system is monarchy or democracy, the same corruption is still going on. At the present moment, there are different parties in the democratic government, but everyone is busy trying to keep his post or trying to keep his political party in power. The politicians have very little time to think of the welfare of the citizens, whom they oppress with heavy taxes in the form of income tax, sales tax, and many other taxes. People sometimes have 80 to 90% of their income taken away, and these taxes are lavishly spent for the high salaries drawn by the officers and rulers. So formerly, the taxes accumulated from the citizens were spent for performing great sacrifices as enjoyed in the Vedic literature. At the present moment, however, almost all forms of sacrifice are not at all possible. Therefore, it is recommended in the Shastras that people should perform Sankirtana Yajna. Any householder, regardless of his position, can perform this Sankirtana Yajna without expenditure. All the family members can sit down together and simply clap their hands and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Somehow or other, everyone can manage to perform such a yajna and distribute prasad to the people in general. This is quite sufficient for this age of Kali. The Krishna conscious movement is based on this principle. Chant the Hare Krishna mantra at every moment, as much as possible, both inside and outside of the temples, and as far as possible distribute prasad. This process can be accelerated with the cooperation of state administrators and those who are producing the country's wealth. Simply by liberal distribution of prasada and sankirtana, the whole world can become peaceful and prosperous. Generally, in all the material sacrifices recommended in the Vedic literature, there are offerings to the demigods. This demigod worship is especially meant for less intelligent men. Actually, the result of such sacrifice goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, Bhuktaram Yajna Tapasam. He is actually the enjoyer of all sacrifices. His name, therefore, is Yajna Purusa. Although Dhruv Maharaj was a great devotee and had nothing to do with these sacrifices, to set an example to his people, he performed many sacrifices and gave all his wealth in charity. For as long as he lived as a householder, he never spent a farthing for his sense gratification. So in this verse, the word karma phala pradam is very significant. The Lord awards everyone different kinds of karma as the individual living entities desire. He is the super soul present within the heart of everyone And he is so kind and liberal that he gives everyone full facilities to perform whatever acts one wants. Then the result of the action is also enjoyed by the living entity. So if anyone wants to enjoy or lord it over material nature, the Lord gives him full facilities, but he becomes entangled in the resultant reactions. Similarly, if anyone wants to enjoy or anyone wants to engage himself fully in devotional service, the Lord gives him full facilities, and the devotee enjoys the results. The Lord is therefore known as Karma Phala Prada. So, very wonderful purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lots of points to be covered in there. With this. Om Jnana Trimandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasthaya Bhutale Srimate Vidyaskriya Swami Iti Namane Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So we'll start by understanding from the purport. Prabhupada has mentioned lots of important points, but we'll start with how he has glorified Dhruv Maharaj as an ideal perfect king, and as a perfect Kshatriya, and as a perfect Vaishnava. And the reason that he was an ideal king, an ideal Kshatriya, because he was a devotee of the Lord. He is a pure devotee and a pure Vaishnava. And he was an ideal king and Kshatriya because he was keeping his praja happy and protected. And as a duty of Kshatriya, he was very liberal in giving charity. He practically emptied his treasury by giving charity. That's what Prabhupada mentioned in the purport. He was a pure devotee because he was performing the prescribed duty to please the Supreme Lord. So with this example of Dhruva Maharaj, Prabhupada wants us to understand that when the Varnashram system was in place, then everything was performing, everyone was performing their prescribed duties very nicely. Everything went well. All the Varnashrams, they cooperated with each other and they helped each other. The whole society benefited as there was peace and prosperity in the society. And then Prabhupada explains the contrast in today's world, that how at present time the Kshatriya have become corrupt. A king is not meant simply to take taxes from the citizen and accumulate wealth to spend in sense gratification. But that is happening in today's world. So this is the degradation of the Varnashram system. When the people become corrupt and how the kings start exploiting the masses. So in olden days, that in previous times, what used to happen is the taxes accumulated from the citizens were spent for performing great sacrifices, as it's been mentioned in the Vedic literature. But in this Kali Yuga, at the present moment, all those sacrifices are not possible because we don't have all those facilities. So therefore, it is recommended in the Shastra that people should perform Sankirtana Yajna through the chanting of holy name of the Lord and distribute prasad. And this process can be accelerated. That's what Prabhupada is recommending, that it can be accelerated if the state administrator use all those tax money to participate in the liberal distribution of prasad and sankirtan. Then the whole world can be peaceful and prosperous. Then let's see more about Varnashram system and how it is linked to pleasing Krishna. So Varnashram dharma is duties performed to the system of 4 varnas, social division, and 4 ashramas, stages in life, and focuses on the responsibilities, which naturally fulfill the rights of others. And this Varnashram system or division of society is not representing the today's caste system that we see. That is a degraded version of it. So these days we are familiar with Devi Varnashram system, which is the pure system, but we see the Ashuri Varnashram system, which is degraded version of this, where people think that Varnas and Ashramas are according to the birthright, but it is not. So we all know there are 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. So let's see those. So 4 Varnas according to social division, and it's not by birth. So it's Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. So Brahmanas are the intellectual priests, teachers class. Kshatriyas are police people, army, and administration. Vaishyas are farmers, merchant, and business people. And Shudras are workers. And then we have got 4 ashramas, the stages in life. So these 4 ashramas are basically for a gradual development for spiritual advancement for different stages of life if someone follows this 4 ashramas. So it starts with brahmachari, that is student life, then grihastha, the household life, and vanaprastha, which is retirement, and sannyas, which is renunciation. So a bit of background of how these varnas and ashramas were manifested, actually from where. So Brahmana appeared from the face of the Lord, Kshatriya appeared from the arms of the Lord, the Vaishya appeared from the thighs of the Lord, Shudras appeared from the legs of the Lord. And then brahmacharis appeared from the heart of the Lord, grihastha appeared from the thighs of the Lord, and vanaprastha appeared from the chest of the Lord, and sannyasis appeared from the head of the Lord. We can see, so Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that we should follow Varnashram Dharma as long as we are covered in the 3 modes of material nature. So Varnashram Dharma is absolutely necessary till one reaches the stage of Jivana Mukta or liberation. So for those devotees like Haridas Thakur, who could chant 24/7, he doesn't need to be bound into the Varnashram system because he has transcended the modes of material nature. Therefore, he doesn't need to follow this system. But we can see from Dhruva Maharaj's example that he was also a pure devotee, but he still followed the Varnashram system to set an example to the society. So the Varnashram system that Srila Prabhupada talks about in lots of his purport as well is a Devi Varnashram system. So by definition, it means the prescribed duties which are performed with the purpose of attaining the goal of life, which is Krishna or Vishnu. So let's know a little bit more about Devi Varnashram system. There's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Ata Pumbe Dvaja Shrestha Varnashrama Vibhagasa Swanutishtasya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. And the translation of that verse is that, O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste division and order of life is to please the personality of Godhead. So Devi Varnashram means that system of varna and ashrama, where the individuals are directing all their activities towards pleasing Krishna, where the members of each varna and ashrama know about devotional service and are willing to practice in devotional service within the confines of their varna and their ashramas. So point that is made here is that varnashram dharma is important to be followed by practicing devotees. Because sadhana bhakti is mixed devotional service. The process of varnashram dharma is also the most scientific material arrangement to uplift the practicing devotees. So it supports us in our bhakti. So we know that the ultimate and highest expression of dharma is pure bhakti. But what sometimes we fail to understand is that there is an intimate link and connection between the process of varnashram dharma and sadhana bhakti practice to achieve the highest level of pure bhakti. There is one reference from Sri Chaitanya Siksha Amrita by Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur that says, with the assistance of varnashrama dharma, a person should cultivate bhakti. It is also necessary to follow the rules of varnashrama in the cultivation of bhakti. Though all humans have a right to practice bhakti, those who follow the regulations of varnashrama have a much easier time. So we can understand from this that by following the system of varnashrama, we will be able to advance more easily in bhakti. And then in the Prabhupada explains that Lord is known as Karma Phala Prada. He mentioned that in this verse, the word Karma Phala Prada is very significant. So let's take a look at these important points where Prabhupada mentions that the Lord awards everyone different kinds of karma as the individual living entity's desires. And if anyone wants to enjoy or lord it over material nature, the Lord gives him full facilities, but he becomes entangled in the resultant reactions. So similarly, if anyone wants to engage himself fully in devotional service, the Lord gives him full facilities and the devotee enjoys the results. So the Lord is therefore known as Karma Phala Prada. So this is all about what we desire. So in the spiritual world, the mood or rasa or the desires were centered around Krishna, to serve Krishna, how we can please Krishna. Whereas in the material world, the desire has completely become reversed because this material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So here, most of the desires are not to please Krishna, but what is it in for me? How I can be pleased, how I can be satisfied. So things have completely turned around from pleasing Krishna to pleasing ourselves. And that's what we need to turn around back. Our desires back to having a desire to only pleasing Krishna. And that's pure devotion and service. So, and as Krishna is Karma Phala Prada, he is going to grant you what you desire. So we have to very be careful that what we desire, we don't desire for little things. We need to desire big, which is to achieve Krishna. So this is very important to desire the right thing because there's so much power in desiring, which we do not understand. There's so many thoughts goes in our mind every day. If you analyze your thoughts, there's so many desires that we need to understand which ones are temporary and which ones are going to lead us towards Krishna. So let's have a look at this is an overall desire between a devotee and a non-devotee way of thinking. There could be a mix for sadhana bhakti devotee, but this is more of a pure devotee desire and non-devotees. So when a non-devotee is cooking, they will not offer to Krishna first. So they will cook for themselves and eat. But when a devotee is cooking, then he will cook with an intention to offer it to Krishna first and then eat. So that's a pure desire in a devotee that I want to offer it to Krishna first. That's the intention of cooking. Even for eating, non-devotee, lots of freedoms. They can go to any, they can eat anything, and they can go to any restaurants, eat any unoffered rajasic, tamasic, or sattvic food. But for devotees, they can only eat prasad, and they also desire to only eat prasad. Similarly, for singing, we see lots of singers around the world. They sing to satisfy their senses, but there are devotees who have got nice singing abilities. They will sing as an offering to the Lord. Sorry. And if a non-devotee sees a flowers or the bunch of flowers is they see in a shop, non-devotee will think, oh, that's a very beautiful flowers. Let me give that to my friend, or let me give that to my family, or use it for themselves at their home to decorate their home or for any other purpose. But when a devotee sees those flowers, they'll be like, oh, they're so beautiful. We should offer it to Krishna. How we are going to decorate Krishna using those flowers? So that's the whole mindset and the whole desire that changes for even little activities like. So when a devotee does, he does it as an offering to Krishna. And that's how they develop the desire to offer it to Krishna. And this is what makes everything very different. And this is where things can turn around back. And it says in Bhagavad Gita, excuse me, Yat karoshi yadashnasi yadjuhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Krishna is instructing that whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. And this way, a devotee is protected because he doesn't get entangled in the resultant reactions. Now let's see how to free yourself from the resultant reaction. We already saw previously, by offering to Krishna, if he won't get entangled into the resultant reaction. Then there is one more verse on a similar note where Krishna assures that you will be free from the resultant reactions. That's Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashyami ma suchaha. Ma suchaha. He reassures, do not fear. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. So of all these different types of activities, rituals, and sacrifices that we perform, there's one most important sacrifice is to surrender to the Supreme Lord. So Krishna says that all our dharma and so many obligations, rituals, and dharma, they have to be given up. Just surrender unto me. And why? Because he says, I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. He instructs that I will free you. He assures you that I will free you. Just surrender unto me. And then this freedom from karmic reaction is also assured by Lord Brahma and Brahma Samhita. He mentioned, Yasta Vindra Gopam Athavindra Maho Swakarma Bandha Nurupa Falabhaja Matanoti Karmani Nirdahati Kintu Cha Bhakti Bhajam Govindamadi Purusham Tamham Bhajami. So in this he explains that one who engages in worship of Krishna is free from all karmic reaction. One is free from this network of karma. So it is very complex network of karma that we get ourselves involved. Every time we breathe, every time we even take a step, we are killing living entities unknowingly. So there are lots of karmas we are forming even unknowingly. And that's why we see some people wear masks on their face as they don't want to inhale insects unknowingly. as that's killing, and they want to not kill. And that's a different story that nowadays, due to COVID, everybody wears masks to protect themselves from virus. And it's good, we should protect ourselves. So we see that Lord Brahma and Lord Krishna assures us in the Bhagavad Gita, all of our karmic bonds are broken and Krishna will look after us. So pure devotional service means that we should take that instruction from the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, where he himself is saying that surrender unto me and become my devotee, and I will deliver you. But is it very easy to completely surrender? As we can think, okay, we will surrender, we are abandon everything. But sometimes we are filled with so many material desires that in that case, we need to follow the practice of sadhana bhakti, where we can purify our desires by practicing the rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti, and also the rules and regulation of varnashram, that is a purificatory process to help us surrender to Krishna. So as an example, suddenly if any day, if one is hospitalized and we don't know for a moment that, oh, whether I will survive or I won't survive. So at that time, are we ready to surrender to Krishna? Are we free from all attachments and material desires and thinking at that moment that, oh yes, I can remember Krishna completely? And can we desire to just be with Krishna and go with Krishna? Is that the point here is that will decide our advancement level. So the problem states here is that currently most of us, our desire is to be in this world is very strong, then desire to go to Krishna, which is a bit weak. So what do we do to connect to Krishna in a strong way, to develop that desire, and what we should follow to connect to Krishna, what path? So of course, sadhana bhakti, Prabhupada has mentioned. So I have summarized it as a path to connect to Krishna. The first point is that we can please the Supreme Lord, which is mentioned in this verse very much, that we must be pleasing the Supreme Lord with whatever activities we do. To become a pure devotee, we can please the Lord with our activities. But how do we become a pure devotee? How to connect to Krishna in that way? First step is we need to have an intense desire to attain Radha and Krishna. Really intense desire. So like we have that 3-step process: dream big, set goals, take action. So anyone, even in material world, if you see, if they want to achieve something really high, then what do they do first? They have to desire. There's no one in a successful story, if you read, there is no one in that story who wouldn't have desired first. Because if they didn't desire, they possibly won't be that successful. So it is very important to have that intense desire. Now, how do we develop that desire? We can't just sit down and tell ourselves, our mind, please desire. Let's develop that desire. We can't just sitting like that, we can desire. So the answer is very simple. Like, for example, if there is a great star of a different country you don't know, and you hear from a friend who is crazy fan of that person, and you keep hearing on how great that person sings, behaves, and many other qualities, even if you don't want to hear, because you associate with that person is going to keep talking about that person. And after hearing again and again, one day you will develop a desire. Oh, I want to see that person. Sounds like a very great person. I want to connect to that person. So similarly, we have to hear Krishna Katha from someone who has deep eagerness to serve Lord, with pure devotees, with advanced devotees, like-minded devotees. So just by hearing from them and associating with them, we can naturally develop desire to get Krishna. So it is said, that desire get transferred with the people you associate with. So this way you can dream big to achieve the highest perfection and then set a goal to attain Radha and Krishna. That's the highest goal one should set. So then the second step is to perform all devotional service with that goal in mind. With that only one goal. So for all the service that we do, that doesn't land up into different goals. Because if it does land up to different goals, then we are deviating from the main goal. So our mood of service must be aligned to that goal. Otherwise, if it is not aligned to that service, then it could be that it is mixed with material desire or some other purpose, and then the progress will be very slow. Therefore, the desire to, when we are serving or performing any duties, is to please Krishna, to attain him ultimately, and to advance in the bhakti. And the third one is that we should serve each other in a group. We should serve Vaishnava and by following rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti and varnashrama. So that will combined help us to connect to Krishna. But when we are doing any service, we should offer our best. And everybody's standard of best is different because everybody's qualities, abilities, talents are different. So what is best for someone might not be best for the other person. But then we don't need to get into all that. We don't have to judge that. Because only Krishna and we can see if we have given our best in that service. So if someone is expert in cooking, we should try to cook best to the highest standard and give Krishna the very best. If someone is very good at building or creating something, then they should do that to the very best standard, the most beautiful thing they can build for Krishna. So if we are talented in some way, like in music or singing, then we should sing for Krishna. We should not hide that talent thinking, oh, we should not use it for Krishna. We should be able to use all our skills in the service of Krishna. So, and the third step, which is there, we already talked about, that we should be serving devotees, follow the rules. And when we are serving devotees, we should try our best not to see the imperfection in the devotees. So the process is about introspection, not about finding faults or criticizing others or seeing faults in others, but to see faults in us. And then only one can purify quickly, which is tough job because the mind is like a bee more than mind is like a fly more than a humble bee. So it more than it goes to the honey, it goes to the dirt. So we have to control our mind. And if someone is doing well in the service, the mood should be that you must be very happy to appreciate the success of the devotee. If someone hasn't done a well thing, then you should encourage that devotee so they can do well in that service. So that should be the mood. That is the mood of spiritual world. That when one devotee does really well and Krishna appreciates that devotee, then the other devotees are not envious. They are really happy to hear the glorification of the other devotees. And that's the pure mood of the spiritual world. So by developing all this, then we can connect to Krishna and we can please Krishna and ultimately attain him. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anyone have any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandot Pranam.
Hi, Krishna Prabhuji.
Beautiful class. You reminded that Varnashram system throughout with the nice examples and these examples and your chart that shows us, you have nicely explained Varnashram system. And then the thing you were talking about this, what is it, Devi, and then other one is Ashuri. So would you be able to explain the Asuris one so that it clears our mind?
Okay. So when we know the contrast, we can understand this better. In Ashri, we see that there is Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas and Shudras. So in Ashri, what happens is that people have got a mindset that, I am born Brahmana, and that is a born Shudra, and he is lower than me. Many times, even they are not, the people have created a different society of high class and low class. They are low class people, we are high class people. And whereas that's not what the Devi Varnashram system was meant to be. It's not about being high class or low class. All are there to serve each other in a society, and there's no inferiority or superiority complex. So it's more like in Devi Varnashram system, Brahmana is performing by distributing knowledge to others, Varnas, but they are not demeaning the other Varnas that, oh, you're lower than me. Their aim is to uplift them into devotional service as a service to Lord. And others' aim is to serve the Brahmana so they can pass on the knowledge, and they can also be uplifted into the path of bhakti. Same for Kshatriya, as very nicely explained. Prabhupada has explained in the purport itself, the Ashuri, where the kings and the governments are accumulating all the taxes and they're using it for their sense gratification. That is Asuri. But Devi is given the example by the example of Dhruva Maharaj, where we can see the contrast that he actually, when he accumulated all the taxes, used to empty the treasury for the fulfillment of his citizen. So that's the real way of what a Kshatriya does. They protect their citizens, they think about the welfare of the citizens and make sure that they are uplifted in their devotional service, not just materially or for their own sense gratification. So that's the whole difference that is there. So the Ashuri is very much of the caste system that we hear, and which is heavily criticized, and nobody wants to know which caste you are in, because that is not really what the actual Devi Varnashram system is, or what Krishna built as a four Varnas.
Thank you, Mataji. This is against that refers to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction, Janmana Jayate Shudra. So by birth, we are all Shudra. But only by the qualification from within, we can elevate to the status as per Varnashram system. If we don't follow this, then it is Asuric. Right? Thank you so much for highlighting the points.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanur Pranam. Thank you very much for a very systematic and logical presentation of this verse. So nice to have so many slides and very visual, very, very, very clear. Just, I think your project, my new skill is really coming to the fore using in Krishna service. So thank you very much. The Varnashram system, I think, get corrupted because the Brahmins were not following the system created by Krishna, Chaturvarna Maya system, Guna Karma Vibhakasham. So because it became more towards lineage through birth, and then Brahmins started exploiting the others, and the Kshatriyas also started using the taxes to get sense gratification, and the whole system just collapsed and got corrupted. So got a very bad name. Yes, there's nothing like caste system in the Vedic system. It's more like a Varnashram system. So as you mentioned, the four Varnas are different parts of the body, and the idea is all the parts should satisfy the soul within the body. So there's just no conflict, just it's complementing each other. But when you create artificial barriers and one parts of the body want to be heard, then there's a conflict and the whole system will collapse. So yes, just by not following Krishna's instruction, everything is coming tipsy-turvy. Thank you for this very nice presentation, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Anybody else? Here we go, still a few minutes. Anybody, any comments, reflection, realization to share?
Hare Krishna Mataji, very nice presentation with the nice points. Yeah, all points revive us, what to do, how to connect with Krishna. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, there doesn't seem to be any more comments or queries, so we'll end the class here. Thank you very much, Mataji, Ananga Mataji, for coming forward and giving such a nice explanation of this verse. Grace Ananga Mataji ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai. God Bhaktan God Family Haribo. Vanchakat
Kripa Sindhu Bhayavajo Patitanam Pavanebho Vishnu Namo Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki
Jai.
Jai.
Jai.